A while ago we became concerned about two things. The first was that emerging market currencies are going through a rough time, and that was very evident in several markets, particularly Argentina, where the peso had fallen by 25%. The second thing was that the Central Bank of Nigeria in this country had got inflation under control, or at least inflation is trending down. So inflation in May was down to about 12.5% year on year, and market interest rates were coming down at the same time. So we felt that there could be some pressure on the CBN to cut rates, and we wondered if they would do that. Argentina was a particularly severe example of it. The peso fell a lot. But other countries were under pressure too. The Brazilian real, the Russian ruble, the Indian rupee all came under pressure. So we think of Nigeria as a connected market, and therefore if those markets come under pressure, we think that'll be reflected here too. The issue with the Naira is that if you look at the yield that you can get in the Naira, it's about a percentage point above the inflation rate. Therefore, that seems a little bit low in respect of other emerging market currencies which offer about 5 percentage points yield over their local inflation rate. So the CBN has had a lot of success in keeping inflation under control, although we should note that its target range for inflation is between 6 and 9 percentage points. So in effect, they've got some way to go in that direction. However, there was some expectation that they would bring down rates. The monetary policy rate is 14%, inflation has fallen beneath that, at least it did in May, and so there's some expectation that rates would come down. However, we think that they will look very carefully at their market interest rate, that's the rate they offer on their open market operations, so-called OMOs, and on T-bill rates in this country, to see where they are against inflation. It's very interesting to see what Brazil and Russia have done. Both of them had quite high rates of inflation at the beginning of 2017. Both of them brought it under control. As a result, they cut rates at the end of 2017 and on into 2018. However, both those currencies came under attack. So you shouldn't necessarily cut rates just because of inflation. You have to look at the currency at the same time. I think the CBN is very aware of the problem. So they said two very significant things in the communiqué from their May meeting. The first of that was that inflation isn't really beaten. They expect inflation to be pushed up a little bit in the second half of this year by election spending. So they still have a strong inflation remit, and they will address that. The other point they made is that there's quite a lot of money that has come into the Nigerian money markets from abroad, and they don't want that to flow out again. They're quite clear about that. There are several types of money that come in from abroad. In some ways, the best of it, you could say, is FDI, foreign direct investment. But there are other sorts of money that come in, and they're very welcome too. That's foreign portfolio investment. Now, the problem with FPI is that it can come in and then leave. So in the last quarter of last year and the first quarter of this year, we saw about $5 billion come into the Naira fixed income markets. And I think that's the money the CBN is worried about. The CBN does not want that money to exit in a hurry. I think the CBN will take its OMO rate, the open market operation rate, and I think they will push that up gently throughout the third quarter of this year, and by Q4 of this year we expect that to be trending around 14–15% as opposed to the 13% that we have now. In terms of the monetary policy rate, their headline rate, I think they won't do anything with that. I think they'll hold that until the end of the year at 14%.